think I'm recording now. Alright, so welcome to EVE Online. I'm Major Freak. This is something I always dread doing, changing my mind about where I have my ships, where I have my implants. Just the whole swapping things around is really irksome. And I've hated doing it in the past, because in the past I didn't really have a good idea about where to place certain ships. I didn't really know all the ships I did have. I wasn't familiar with the fits anymore. I'd forget what kind of tank I had on certain ships. I just had a lot of stuff, and the idea of moving things around like a chessboard just wasn't in the works. What my situation is, specifically, is that in Bashakru at Claymore, right here, I feel it's central to my operations. It's where I originally came to this area. It's because of the ice field. Years ago, I would just mine ice here in the high sec. It feels central because the Malal loop, the army constellation, it has in this area. It's got a loop of stationless systems. No NPC stations in the. It's one entry and exit. It's other than wormholes. Malal and the constellation of army has a bunch of systems in lowsec, and it's totally closed off loop. It's awesome. And so that stretches the area around and makes Bashakru pretty central to that. At the other end of it, there's the Ruchi and Nazil pocket. There's only 2 low-sec systems there, which will never get incursions because the incursion hits the high-sec of the constellation and does not spill over into the low-sec, just as Fua constellation will affect the low-sec, but will never spill off into Yaller and Faruni systems of that constellation. So I have talisman implants at Bashakru Claymore, and that's where I would have my Lashaks and my Geddons and my Nestors and my Stratioses for spider tanking. These talismans is great for energy transfer. It's also where I keep my curse for. It also affects talismans. Also affect the neutralizers and nosses. So that's great. I also use ECM implants for my rooks that I bring along as support for Major Freak and Rain, who have training in and the capability to use the rooks. Now I could have 5 Lashaks, but the problem is how I do my spider tanking is I just put 1 on each. Like I've got a Lashak with 1 gun, 2 energy transfers, and 2 reps, and I just place 1 on each, so I don't feel the need, and it takes 15 minutes to babafob. I'm happy with 3 Lashaks. So those 2 characters, I need a hauler for the loot, so that's Domo, who's my hauler trader, and then the other 2 I was finally settled on were using rooks. It's the best application for a support team. I had an Orthus 2. It was kind of fun, but at the same time, when you needed a rook, you needed a rook. So I went with 2 rooks. Now these 2 characters, the ECM implants, are in Arera. 1 jump over, so whoop-de-doo, right? No big deal. I could deal with it. Now though, I have 2 new astrahouses. They're in Mamenkhanar and Bashakru. One's on the Micker Gate, and the other one's on the Toshiba gate. The two high-sec entrances, the gates to this area, other than, of course, low-sec, through Fancy, which is through Narai. Kind of fun, and I've placed it so when you jump into the system with orbit cam, you're facing my astrahus, which is kind of cool. And I can, if I wanted to, I could have two people and I just look at the gates, both of them, and just watch the traffic go by. It'd be kind of cool to feel the pulse of the area. Kind of neat. Anyways, so now that I have two new ones, I've placed my bombers because they were originally in IMI, but I was at war and I was needing my bombers nearby to go after a high-sec Wardecker's HQ with bombers, right? So I'd moved them to Ashab, so they're nearby, and I was like, why don't I, because it cost $500,000 each time I switched my clones. I was like, why don't I move them into Cutlass? And that's what I did. I moved the bombers here with their Halo implants. So in the same system, I've got my Talisman and my bombers. And then yesterday I was like, wait a minute. Why am I going next system for my ECM when I could put all the ECM in Cutlass? And I was thinking, oh, I'd just put my Halos, I'd just do a straight switch from, I'd just switch between the two. But yesterday I also did a strategy video about where would be the smartest place to put the implants, and I hit on cheap. I'll put the most at risk, where Wardeck Corp would naturally hit first, if they were only going, say they're only going to RF one astrahus and destroy that and move it on to the next one, which would be the assumption of your amateur corp. You're not really thinking. The more experienced ones would hit as many upwells as they could in one go, of course. But yeah, I mean, the reasoning is sound. I mean, give yourself as much advantage, protect your vulnerabilities as possible, right? So that's what I thought. So it was like, okay, so I know that ECM and Halo implants are dirt freaking cheap. Like Centurion, well, there's a bit of a somebody's gumming up the works of Jita's prices, so it's totally screwed up right now. But normally, the Centurion ECM implants are like half the price of Halo and half of the price of Talisman and Halo are like $500 million for the full set. We're not talking just about the attributes, but also the supporting implants for the others. It's like, okay, and the last video I decided to put the cheap ones in the outlying areas. So mamenkhanar, bashakru, and both bashakrus are the entry systems from high sec. That I'm worried about. I'm not worried about low sec. If somebody comes at me from low sec, I'm screwed. So yeah, so I was okay. So what I'm going to do today is I'm here with my main implants. My main implants are my mining implants. I don't change them whatsoever. They're this is for my miners. I've got CA's harvest implants, the low grades, and one of my characters has the skills and the implant, but the others have capacitor management, cheap ones. I haven't gone around upgrading them. They cost $150 million each, so I'm like, I don't really need it yet. I'll get there eventually. But anyways, so what I've got are lots of Talisman, lots of Halo, and lots of ECM implants. And what I want to do is I want to move since I want my ECM here, I'll move them out of Arera, where I'm at right now, and I want to move the ships too. So I'm going to move the ECM ships and the implants to bashakru Cutlass. Therefore, all my stuff for fob bashing and all the other stuff I do is right there in bashakru. don't need to jump systems at all. It makes it simple, right? And might as well. Makes sense. And oops. Yes, we all know what it looks like. And what I'll do with the bombers from here is just move them over to mamenkhanar. And mamenkhanar holds my miscellaneous stuff, which is actually quite expensive. The probers and the speed implant sets. Only one of my characters has one probing thing, and one of my characters has one speed implant. And those are really like almost 2 billion. So I'll move them into Arera. So this will stay the same with the talisman, but yeah, the halo will go here, the miscellaneous will go here, and the centurions will go here. So that's the plan. So